I'm with Helena Croft from Streetlights UK. Now, Helena, what is Streetlights UK?
Thanks, Paul. Good to talk with you. Streetlight UK is a frontline specialist support service for women involved in prostitution and sex trafficking. And we operate across London, Sussex, Surrey, Kent, Medway. So London and the southeast, really.
How successful has the organisation been in what you're doing? What are you doing there?
Yeah, so we've been going about 12 years now. I think 2012 is when we started. And I mean, during that time, we've supported thousands and thousands of women. Last year, we supported over 700 directly, and we engaged with over 7,000 women. So that's just to give a bit of a scale. And the challenge in the UK, there's about 105,000 individuals involved in prostitution, predominantly women. So we are a sort of unashamedly a women's service because 98% of those involved are women. So, yeah, our work is pretty much frontline. We've got teams going out late at night onto the streets of North and South London, just supporting women. And that could be anything from giving them food, giving them essential supplies, clothing in the winter, and things to keep them safe sexually, because obviously they're seeing a lot of men every night. And our primary focus is exit support to help those that want to leave, and 9 out of 10 want to leave to help them to exit prostitution. So in London, that's very much on street. And then in the sort of more rural counties, most of the prostitution is happening behind closed doors. So what we would call off street. So we're working hard with our partners to first of all find those women because they're quite hidden in communities, but they're in every town, every city, every village. So we're a one-to-one support service, really. It has to be each woman individually being seen, and we put a kind of a holistic package around each woman to help her because the needs are quite chronic. It's not as simple as just stopping or just leaving. A lot of the women are financially dependent. They're often dependent on other individuals who might be exploiting them within prostitution. And sometimes that can be a husband, it can be a boyfriend, it can be a friend, or someone who's just literally exploiting them if they've been trafficked. So that's to give you a bit of an overview of what we do. We work with a wide range of partners, including the police, local authorities, mental health, sexual health, all the different NGOs that you would need to put a package around someone, including sort of housing as well, drug and alcohol. So hopefully that gives a little bit of a flavour of what we do.
Are there many women at risk in the UK at the moment?
Well, as I said previously, the figures are about 105,000. That was the last figure that was stated by the Government Home Affairs Select Committee chair. And that figure, I think, is the tip of the iceberg because prostitution is a very hidden issue in communities and it's very fluid. There's a lot of movement. Women are moving across towns, across cities, they're moving across the country, they're moving across national and international borders. So it's really difficult to put a figure on it. Year on year since we started, we're supporting more and more women. I think for us, it is a drop in the ocean what we're able to do, but clearly 700 women that we directly supported one to one last year gives you a bit of the scale. We're one of very few specialist organisations working in this field. So there needs to be many, many more organisations like Streetlight UK really, built into local authority as statutory services to support this group who they often fall through the net. They don't neatly fit under any particular service such as housing or health. They fall through the nets of most of the local services.
Have you seen many women change their lives with the work that you're doing, turn themselves around?
Yeah, and that's the good news. And that's why, that's my motivation to get out of bed in the morning, to be honest. It feels such a privilege to do what I do because we see such good news. We see it's a very dark world and there's lots that we could get quite down about. But our whole approach is to be very focused on the positive and on that individual woman in front of us. And yeah, we have story after story after story of good news. I can give you one example. We do a lot of work online, reaching out to women, and send many thousands of texts every week and every month. Hundreds are going out, thousands of texts are going out. So one lady who was in her 70s, she responded to the first text that we sent her, and she said that we were the first support service that had contacted her in over 20 years of working in the sex industry. And we were able to help her exit in about 3.5, 4 months. She went on to help us provide a safety leaflet for other women. I could tell you story after story of the good news, but sadly, it's not always good news. We're not always able to help people. You know, we had 2 women die of an overdose in the last 7, 8 months. There's chronic needs that a lot of the women have because it's a very dark world, prostitution, and there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of control. So sadly, women do turn to drugs, they turn to alcohol, it becomes a coping mechanism. But we get to come alongside them. And yeah, we helped a master's student, someone who'd fallen into prostitution because she was doing masters at uni, dropped out of her degree because she got herself not just into debt, but she got herself into problems in the sex industry because, again, a lot of women go into it thinking it's safe and it's okay, they can manage it. And of course, it's not. So we were able to help her access a grant, get back on her master's course and graduate. So there's lots of good news stories. That's just a couple.
Now, here in Israel, on October the 7th, there was the terrorist attack and sexual abuse happened to many women there. Did that shock and surprise you what happened here?
I mean, clearly it shocked the world. I mean, what happened on October the 7th was shocking and outrageous. And I think when in any disaster like that, it's often women and children that really suffer. And, you know, the atrocities that happened on October the 7th shouldn't be minimized. We've been speaking out quite loudly here through Streetlight UK and through our work, you know, about the rapes that happened. You know, these are war crimes that Hamas should be held to account for. There is no justification for that. And I think what has shocked and saddened me is the silence from some other women's organizations internationally who have chosen not to speak out about those atrocities. And, you know, the issue shouldn't be politicized. Rape is rape. And for those women that have been abused horrifically, you know, I mean, the stories are almost too difficult to share, the things that we've heard, but they need to be spoken about and they need to be acknowledged in terms of what they are, which is war crimes.
Do you think more people need to speak out, even though it might be embarrassing to say this is what happened to me because of denial, so that no one can deny this is my testimony?
Yeah, I think absolutely. And, you know, that it's down to the individual. I mean, and a lot of the survivors of October the 7th are so traumatized. I mean, I did hear, you probably know better than me, Paul, but some of the statistics over young people at the Nova Festival who have committed suicide as a result of what they witnessed or what was done to them, that they might have survived, but they've taken their lives as a result. And I think the trauma from those that survived needs to be recognized as well. I think some of the hostages, there's more and more reports coming out from those that have been released of the sexual violence against the women, particularly. And, you know, I think it has to be up to the individual because that can be re-traumatizing for a woman to have to relive and speak about those things. I know some women are, and they are incredibly brave and they should be heard. These are eyewitness accounts. These are things that happen to real people. And, you know, without getting into the political argument of Israel and what's going on in Gaza, there's suffering on both sides, we know. But we have to speak out against what we have the evidence for, which is those rapes and those sexual violent attacks on the women in Israel on October the 7th.
Now, you've just written a book, No Little Girl's Dream. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so my book, No Little Girl's Dream, is just that. It's about prostitution not being a dream of any little girl. No little girl dreams of going into the sex industry when she's little. It's not a career choice. And really, the book represents the last 20 or 25 years of my work in this field and really telling the stories of many of the women. Obviously, I can't put them all in. I'd love to be able to put them all in, but telling the stories of the women who we've met over the years, really exposing the harms of prostitution, the trauma that women suffer. I think also I wanted to highlight or give voice really to those who don't have a voice in this field. And a lot of the women that I support, they're not the vocal ones that are making thousands of pounds as escorts, which is a tiny proportion of those involved in prostitution. They're women who, are selling themselves for £5 on the streets of North London, and it is horrendous. So the book is really telling their stories, but it's also it's written with academics and legislators, law enforcers in mind. So it's got a lot of facts and evidence here, particularly in the UK, but looking at other models of prostitution, Israel being one of the countries that has criminalized sex buying and that has really made a difference to the trafficking market in Israel. I did come and do some work with the Israeli government, with the JIJ, the Jerusalem Institute of Justice, and the work they were doing to help try and get that law through a couple of years ago. And we're trying to get a similar law here in the UK, particularly in England and Wales. Northern Ireland have already introduced it. Scotland, it's on their books to do it. So England and Wales is what we're working on next, where we shift the burden of the law off of the women and onto those that are buying sex, because it really is a supply and demand industry. And I think I wanted the book to be very full of solutions as well. So I focus, particularly the last chapter, on what the solutions are. And there are solutions, very tangible ones. We demonstrate that every day in the work that we do, that, women want to leave. They just need that support package around them. I think a key thing for us is also recognizing prostitution as a form of violence against women, which in the countries that have criminalized sex buying, that really at the heart of the law is a recognition that prostitution is no little girl's dream. It's not a legitimate work or job or career that people willingly go into. They are tiny, tiny percentage of people. Most people enter prostitution because they feel they've got no other option. So the book really highlights the changes that are needed, the solutions that are needed with the police, local authorities, different NGOs, and it offers hope. It offers hope that actually we can all be part of that change. We can all do something to make a difference.
How long did it take you to write and research this book, and why did you want to write it?
Well, I think the book itself, the research of it, I would say is like it's 25 years of my work in this field. So it's a
Mm.
culmination of a lot of the things that I've seen. And I felt for some time that I wanted to write a book, and primarily, as I say, to get the stories of the women out there and to get this issue really front and center with legislators. We were fortunate that I was able to do a policy event just after the book launch in Parliament. That was really well attended. We had a packed house, 90 odd people in the house, including MPs and legislators. And I think we are well placed to try and get the law changed in England and Wales. In terms of how long did it take me to write, I actually wrote the book in 100 days. So it
Mm.
took me 100 days, and that was a goal that I was set by my publisher. So I wrote it in 100 days and then got it published within 100 days. So it was a really therapeutic process for me personally. I really enjoyed writing. And I think, obviously I had to be very disciplined and carve out that time. It was a lot of writing in those 100 days. But it's given me a real thirst to write more. So I've got a few more writing weeks coming up where I'm going to be penning my next book, which will be great.
It must have been really important to actually get into Parliament and share some of the things that are in the book.
Absolutely. And I think just through my work over the years, I've sort of developed a really good network of supporters of our work. We've been really fortunate winning the Queen's Award for voluntary service. So, and I was honoured in the King's Honours last year, getting an MBE, all for the work with Streetlight. So that's positioned us well to be able to speak to the legislators, speak to those who are in a position to bring a real difference and a real change. And I think, it's politically an interesting time. We're going to be going through a general election within the next year, definitely. And I think it's going to be a big challenge for whoever is in power to take on issues like this for women because they're coming to the surface more and more, and rightly so.
Mm. Who were you wanting to reach with this book?
I think it's a real mixture. I mean, I've written the book so that anyone can read it. So anyone who is interested in social justice, who is interested in women's issues, so anybody can read it. And we're getting lots and lots of stories back from people who have read it, people who work in this field, who are working in the violence against women and girls field. Even some of our service users are reading it. We had a brilliant testimony 2 weeks ago of one of our service users who read the book, and she just found it online. We didn't promote it to her. She just read it, found it, went on our website, and she's exited prostitution and got another job as a result, which has been amazing to think that actually our service users are reading it. And then, of course, I've written it to really focus legislators and influencers such as academics, university professors, and those who are setting the agenda to do with academia in this issue. So we're doing quite a lot of work with the universities at the moment, speaking about the book, just speaking with different target audiences. We have a very strong internship program at Streetlight UK where students come and do a placement year with us. They could be psychology, sociology, law students, social work students, because we feel like educating individuals really about this issue is really key, particularly the next generation.
Now, you were just recently awarded an MBE. Was this a big surprise when the letter came through the door?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I found out it was last June that I got it, and I found out the month beforehand. And you're sort of told you're not allowed to say anything. You've got to sort of sworn to secrecy. And to be honest, I needed that month because I was in total shock. It's not something that you expect to get. It's an award, which is an incredible honor. I do feel that it is a recognition of the work that the whole team does, not just me. Obviously, I'm the founder, I'm the one that is the chief exec, I'm the one kind of tip of the arrow leading it forward. But there's a whole team of us at work, yeah, involved. So I think it's credit to all of them. But yeah, big shock, big surprise.
And who presented you with that, and what was the day like going to receive that?
The day was amazing. I actually went to Windsor Castle, which they only do a few of them at Windsor. And I have to say, I'd never been in Windsor Castle. It was absolutely stunning, very much like Buckingham Palace, just which I was surprised by. It was definitely a palace feel. And I was actually presented it by the Princess Royal, Princess Anne, which I was so delighted by because well, for two reasons. One, because she is a woman, and I felt that was appropriate in terms of the award being given for my work in supporting vulnerable women. But also, I met her many years ago as a teenager. So it was really lovely to be able to see her. I have to say, she was very knowledgeable. You do get a couple of minutes to talk to her when you get your award. So she had done her homework. She was very knowledgeable about our work and, personally shared some insights that she had from the different charities that she works with. So it was a very special day. My husband and daughters were able to come.
Mm.
So we felt very, very blessed.
Why do you do what you do?
Well, I have a strong Christian faith, and that faith motivates me to do something. I'm very much a Christian who needs to roll up their sleeves and get involved. And I found a challenge from two scriptures in the Bible. One that was in the book of Joshua, where Joshua said to the spies, go into the prostitute's house and bring her out, her and her household. And then the other scripture came from the parable of that Jesus said about the shepherd who left the 99 and went after the one. And those two scriptures absolutely motivated me to start this charity all those years ago, 12 years ago. I've always worked in the charity sector and was just coming across this issue. I've also got a political background, so as a deputy leader of a local authority. So I was seeing the needs from a statutory side as well as a voluntary sector. and really saw that there was very little provision. So I began to speak out about that issue and then felt the challenge to set up a professional specialist organisation for this group of women who really, they, as I say, they're a forgotten group. They're a very hidden group in our communities. So that's what motivates me.
Mm. Your book is called No Little Girl's Dream. Where can people get a copy of it?
Yeah, so people can just go straight to Amazon. It's available globally. Just put in No Little Girl's Dream, Helena Croft, and it will come up on Amazon. You can order a hard copy or you can order a Kindle version as well. You could also go to our website, which is streetlight.uk.com, and you'll find it on our homepage and lots more information about our work there as well.
Okay, Helena, thank you very much for sharing today.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.